Wait just few seconds.
Okay.
You'll be able to change your slide. Okay, perfect.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. So, we will talk about the study, the purpose of it, methodology we used. We will also cover participants of the study. We'll discuss findings which the study revealed. So that's our agenda for today. So in general, research shows that there is overall lack of interest in engineering, and only 15% of students earn engineering degrees, and only 20% of those degrees are completed by females. By the time students are in college, it is too late for them to get interested in science or engineering. And attitudes towards science and STEM careers decline once science is no longer a required subject. In terms of STEM Kazakhstan is prioritizing STEM and it's covered in many policy documents. However, if we look at PISA results, which is done in 2018, we can see that Kazakhstan's points are quite low. For instance, in math, Kazakhstan got 423 compared to OECD average, which is 489. In science, Kazakhstan got 397 compared to OECD, which is 487. So therefore, with our team, we decided to conduct a study, the purpose of which was to investigate the STEM knowledge level of primary school students and to investigate primary school teachers and pre-service teachers' perspectives on STEM education. So for that, we used a test called Draw and Engineer, which was distributed to teachers, which was further distributed to primary school students. We've also conducted focus groups with primary school teachers and the pre-service teachers. This is how our engineer test looks. We had it in two languages, Kazakh and Russian. Students were working with this test, and they were drawing engineers and writing and answering the questions. So these are just the samples of the pictures they drew. And this is, for instance, sample of the picture, which is by second grade, drawn by second grade student. For instance, this is from a third grader, and this is from fourth grader. These are just samples which we received from students from different grades. So the pictures were rated by 3 raters, and test and rubric were adapted from Thomas et al., Chiang et al., and Capabianca et al. And it had 7 sections, which are like use of math, use of science, gender stereotypes, work of an engineer continuum, field of engineering, engineering process tools, picture of an engineer. So in general, in total, we had 717 students who participated in the study. 210 were from first grade, second graders were 206, third graders were 135, and fourth graders were 166. So in total, we had 717 students, primary school students. Oops, right now, okay. So what we found, as we can see And considering that maximum score was 3.0, we can see that in general, students have, how to say, very low level of knowledge about STEM. And as we can see, from grade 1 to grade 2, there is greater knowledge gain compared to what's happening after that. We can see that from the second to third and from third to fourth grade, there is no any knowledge gain basically. And in general, the knowledge is quite low. And in terms of using math, science, and gender stereotypes, again, maximum score was 3.0. We can see that majority of them, they don't think that engineers use math or use science, and they consider engineering as a male occupation. So a gender stereotype was quite high. As well, in terms of engineering field, again, considering a score, maximum score, the knowledge again was quite low. They didn't have much knowledge about engineers' work or field and engineering tools. When they were asked whether engineers design or invent versus whether they use drawings, we can see that from fourth grade, only 28% thought that engineers invent or design. With each grade, the number of people, students who think so gets even lower. And in first grade, only 7% of students think that engineers design or invent, whereas 11% first graders think that engineers use drawing. And in general, majority of students, they don't know much about work of engineers, what they do, etc. Looking at our results, we can state that majority of students mentioned that engineers' work is related to construction or building houses or building different buildings. So more than 80% of those students were associating engineers' work with building and construction works. A majority of those students think that engineering work is related to fixing or making items like fixing cars, fixing computers. More than 75% of students had such association. And regarding of engineering, 3.5% of students thought that it's mainly civil engineering. And the other two fields mentioned were computer and robotics. However, over 95% of the students didn't or couldn't name any field of engineering, so they didn't have any understanding about the fields of engineering. We also conducted focus group interviews with teachers, and we had 3 focus groups with 5 teachers each. And after analyzing their answers, we found out that in general teachers lack understanding about STEM, or they had a vague idea about STEM. And teachers also didn't have preparation in STEM. For instance, one of the teachers says, "Since I'm a young specialist, I haven't heard much about STEM. I think it's for the development of creativity and imagination." We know that part of STEM is about creativity and imagination, but it still indicates that they have very vague idea about STEM. We also had a focus group with pre-service teachers. And the results were pretty much the same. They also didn't have much understanding about STEM, and they also lacked preparation in STEM. So our results show that in general, engineering and STEM needs to start in primary schools and build through upper grades, because they, by the time they go to the secondary school, they already have stereotypes that it is male occupation, and they don't have much knowledge about STEM, and as a result, they think that it's a very difficult area. So we believe that it needs to start in primary school. And we also found out that there are not much there is no professional development courses of engineering in service level, and there's no dedicated courses on STEM and engineering on at pre-service level. So our team not opening. So as a team, hello, my slides are not showing, I guess. So we, as a team, we genuinely believe that necessary to introduce STEM in early childhood, because it could shift student interest in STEM careers, improve understanding of what engineers do, and improve self-efficacy. So that was my presentation. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions, I will be happy to answer.
Thank you so much for your presentation.
You're very welcome.
I can see a question from Getika. Do you think is the primary age students are the right age to understand the role of different type of engineering? Are these being included as a part of their curriculum to explain further, or only through STEAM education, as most of the students choose their career option at secondary?
Okay, so yes, I told that as a team we genuinely believe that it should start at the primary school level. Why? Because we can see that even at primary school level, they already have stereotypes. They already believe that it is male occupation. And of course, by the time they go to the secondary school, they have that strong stereotype, and they might, in a way, try to avoid that area. And maybe it's one of the reasons why very few female students choose that occupation.
Getika, is it okay the answer for you, or you want to explore?
Yeah, I want to explore more, because I agree they have their own stereotypes at primary. But are we clearing the misconceptions at primary? Because it's their growing age, and this is just the this is the creativity, isn't it? The imagination mind at that level, and we just want to explore it further rather than just stopping them not to explore, because by that time if we talk about the primary, they are not in the position, although they have mis stereotypes, they keep on changing during the secondary stage. So when they come into the universities or the further careers, like even I'm an engineer, when I did electronics engineering, and when I did my primary, so I have no idea about these, although have a bit of stereotype, but it keeps on changing, and I think it's with every student it happens. So because I have a question around here, like how we have to clear this misconception then at primary. Are we included as a part of the curriculum? That should be mandatory, because now STEM activities are part of their education anyhow, in primary as well.
Okay, so basically, I have another colleague. She will have presentation now, and where we try to develop program as a part of curriculum. So maybe it will answer your questions.
Okay.
If Janet or Katie, would you like to add or?
Yeah, I can
Hi.
jump in here. As a former primary teacher, yes, children should be exploring and be creative, but there are many topics that are engineering and science, STEM related topics that children are doing, but they are not explicitly being pointed out that this is the work of an engineer. Like whether it's building a bridge in a sandbox or designing something with blocks, a lot of those are engineering and science concepts. So maybe the problem is that no one is explicitly telling them, oh, look, you're doing the work of an engineer. So, and as Gulnara has said to you, our next presentation, this presentation leads into our next one where we talk about an engineering design unit that we have developed for primary school specifically. And I appreciate you say that everybody learns STEM, but we're in Kazakhstan and that is not quite true just yet. It is a priority, but our work is going ways to go regardless of priority.
Yeah.
Okay, so I hope that helps.
Yeah,
I just have a very quick question, and I know we need to get on. Is everyone okay with that? Yeah, I just wanted to ask a quick question. So I understand at the moment you mentioned the survey is in the rubric was in both Russian and Kazakh. I understand at the moment Kazakhstan is transitioning from the Cyrillic alphabet to the Latin alphabet. Is that something that's impacted on schools yet? Because I just wondered. It seems to me that would be so fundamental. That would take up so much schools at the moment.
Gulnara?
I think that's your question. I think I missed some part of your question.
Sorry, I think the connection.
The first question is, are they switching to Latin alphabet, right?
Mm.
Yes, Kazakhstan has a plan of switching to it within 5 years or so. It's not just it's not like we are switching to it tomorrow. It's like we have a plan, step by step. It's a big change. So I think it's 5-year plan. Eventually, Kazakhstan is planning to switch to.
Okay. Yeah, I just thought it was interesting because if I was a teacher and somebody told me, we were making a change as big as that, I wouldn't have any time to think about any other changes. That was.
Yeah.
Okay. I can see another question in the chat. I don't know, Gulnara, if you can react to our colleague from UK.
Okay, are there efforts to bring STEM professionals into the primary classroom in Kazakhstan? As I've mentioned thank you very much for your question. As I mentioned, currently we not in Kazakhstan. STEM is priority. The country understands that it's important, but it is mainly in secondary school level. So even it is in many policy documents related to secondary school level. So therefore, we decided to conduct such a study and see what's happening basically in primary level. So it is a big topic right now in Kazakhstan, and it's one of the priorities currently, but on the secondary level, not in primary.
Okay, anybody else? If not, thank you so much again for your presentation, and let's move to the next presenter.
Thank you very much for your questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's